Over the past few decades, if you were looking to buy an entry-level sports car from Porsche, you were looking at a Boxster and Cayman. These nameplates have been around since 1997 and 2006 respectively, and even though the 911 has always been the Porsche sports car that everybody talks about, arguably the Cayman may actually be the better driving vehicle because this car is lighter and it actually has a mid-engine design. Now back in 2016, Porsche introduced the all-new third and fourth generation Cayman and Boxster, introducing the 718 nomenclature and also introducing a new 4-cylinder turbocharged Boxster engine underneath that rear hatch. Now sadly, there is reports of Porsche discontinuing the Cayman and Boxster for the 2025 model year, but for 2024 the company is introducing a new version of the Cayman called the Style Edition. What it essentially does is introduces some of the elements from the discontinued GT4 while bringing it down to the more affordable base engine price level. So this week, as you can see, Porsche has loaned us this absolutely gorgeous Ruby Star Neo 718 Cayman Style Edition, and the big question I would answer, for those of you who are an enthusiast and you're looking for the most perfectly balanced sports car on the market, should you still be looking at a 2024 718 Cayman? Stay tuned to find out. Now before we start talking about the exterior styling, I have to say this car will always have a special place in my heart, and that's because I actually bought one of these vehicles back in 2018. It was a GTS trim back when the car first came out. So when Porsche dropped off this beautiful Ruby Star Neo model, it was definitely pulling at my heartstrings. Now because the Cayman is only a mid-engined vehicle at the back, you're going to find a pretty sizable frunk underneath here. In fact, Porsche says you get around 4.8 cubic feet of storage space underneath that frunk. It's actually a pretty deep frunk storage area. It even has a little release here in case you find yourself trapped underneath there that glows in the dark. There's also a little LED light. So this is a really nice storage space, and as you guys will see from the back, there's also another big storage area back there as well. But since we're underneath here, I want to go ahead and talk about the powertrain specs. I know the engine's not back underneath, or it's not underneath this hood, but this model, the Style Edition, comes with the base engine. And this is certainly anything but basic. It's a 2-liter turbocharged gasoline direction flat 4-cylinder engine. Remember, Porsche first introduced the flat 4 back in 2017, and it was met with a lot of criticism from consumers and media. Don't listen to the criticism. It's actually a wonderful base engine that just has a very different guttural character sound to it, which I very much appreciate. In the Style Edition, it makes the same power as the base Cayman. We're talking 300 horsepower here, a nice even number, and 280 foot-pounds of torque. It has a single turbo feeding up to 19 pounds of boost pressure into those 4 cylinders. Again, it makes pretty good power. If you guys want more, there's the S version, which has a bigger 2.5-liter flat 4, making 350 horsepower. And then, of course, you can go up to the GTS, which has a 4-liter flat 6, making 394 horsepower. The most powerful version is the Cayman GT4 RS, which has a 4-liter flat 6 from a 911 GT3, making almost 500 horsepower. But again, this engine is anything but basic. It goes out through a 7-speed PDK like my test car has here, which is a no-charge option. Or you can also get it with a 6-speed manual transmission. That's right, a manual in today's automotive world is just absolutely fantastic. All Boxsters and Caymans are only rear-wheel drive. You can also get it with a limited slip differential, a torque vectoring limited slip differential for an extra $1,300, which is nice. Fuel economy is rated at 21 in the city and 27 on the highway. Premium is going to be required, of course. This has a 14.3 gallon fuel tank. You're looking at around 300-ish miles of range on a full tank. That can go up to 350 if you guys spec in the optional larger fuel tank, which is about 2.5 gallons bigger. Porsche claims 0 to 60 for this model with the Sport Chrono package, and the PDK is 4.5 seconds. It has a top speed of around 170 miles an hour. And as this car sits, it's one of the lightest new sports cars you can buy, coming in at just over 3,100 pounds. But let's go ahead and close up this hood here and talk about the exterior styling. Now, first of all, this color, Ruby Star Neo, is a new interpretation on a heritage color called Ruby Star. Porsche says it's slightly darker versus the original color, but it's a $2,600 extra charge if you guys want this color. It is absolutely stunning, especially with the Style Edition's upgrades here, like with that white hood stripe. You can also get it in black if you prefer that standard equipment. The Style Edition also rolls in the optional Porsche full LED headlights with the 4-point LEDs, LED low and high beams, adaptive headlights, and you also have an LED turn signal down here. No fog lights on the vehicle, but you can see with the Style Edition, you have essentially the same front fascia here. You have well-integrated parking sensors, no cameras, of course. at the front of the vehicle. This is a small car. You can also option in like a sport design front fascia if you prefer, but this is the standard front fascia. And overall, this car, even though it's the base engine, it gets a lot of attention. It's probably because of the color and the stripe. It really kind of gives off GT4 vibes on this car when you start looking at the rest of the profile, even though it's not quite as wide or as fat tired as the GT4 trim. I found this car got a lot of attention everywhere I took it, and it's probably because of the color and the stripe. It's just a really good looking car that has aged extremely well. Now, moving around the side profile, remember, this is a small vehicle. It's smaller than a 911 at 172 inches in the overall length with a 97.2 inch wheelbase. This particular model here, the Style Edition, also includes wheels from the GT4. These are the 20-inch double 5-spoke wheels painted in a gloss white. I actually love the white wheels with the white graphics package. You can also spec in black if you prefer black graphics and gloss black wheels for no charge. The white wheels, I have a love-hate with them because, as you can see, there's already brake dust accumulating all over those wheels, and I just wiped them down yesterday, so you kind of have to keep that in mind. The tires are a 235 by 35 ZR20 in the front. It's a Pirelli P0 summer tire. It's a fatter 265 by 30 or 35 at the rear. So staggered setup, and you have a 13-inch brake rotor that's cross-drilled at the front, 11.5-inch rotor at the back. Black painted dual piston calipers, it looks like, or quad piston calipers, I believe. Keep in mind the S trim will upgrade your brakes to larger rotors with red painted calipers. So that's how you know you have a base model or base engine when you have just the standard black painted brakes. You can see the integrated turn signal is located right there at the front bumper. Here in the US, we have the amber as opposed to the clear covers. I love the Porsche graphic there along the side. That's included with the Style Edition. I also love the full paint finish that you get here on the mirrors. Those are not power folding, but you can spec that in. You can see there's an integrated side air intake here for the engine, obviously. No sunroof is available, sadly, on the Cayman. Get the Boxster if you guys want that. And then looking at the rear, you can see the design hasn't really changed over the years, but it's still a very attractive looking car. As you can see, the taillights, you can spec in a clear LED taillight. This is the standard, just red LED. It's a 4-point design with an LED turn signal. This spoiler here, you can push a button to make it pop up and down. It also pops up at speeds above 60 miles an hour. And then you can see with the Style Edition, you also get the sport exhaust tailpipes painted in black as standard. You can also get it in silver if you prefer. The engine actually makes a pretty interesting sound. Let's go ahead and fire it up. You can hear what it sounds like real quick. And yes, while everybody knows Porsche is known for their flat 6-cylinder engines, don't dismiss the 4. It definitely gives it a unique character. And remember, Porsche is going to go all electric for the next generation, so pick one of these up while you can. Now you can see I also like the white script here for the 718 Cayman badge. You can also debadge it or just make it say 718 if you'd prefer. And then in terms of the cargo area, when you lift this up, you can see Porsche says on the Cayman you have up to 9.7 cubic feet of storage space back here. Remember, the engine lives right underneath this shelf right there. To access it, you're going to have to be a Porsche technician. They do give you some access here for the oil if you want to add a little bit more oil there. And then this, I believe, is for the coolant reservoir if you need to add more coolant to the radiator. The washer fluid adding is located underneath the hood. Now, Porsche basically says, like I said, there was 9.7 cubic feet of storage space, no underfloor storage here, a little bit more, storage off to the side. It's not a very deep area, and you can see with this raised up, you can't really utilize something large to put on top of the engine. But overall, as you can see, you could sell this vehicle to your spouse and say it has 2 trunks, because it technically does. Total cargo space between the two is just under 14 cubic feet, which is actually a pretty good amount considering this is a 2-seater sports car. So on the outside, Porsche hasn't made any changes to the Cayman for 2024, and that kind of carries through when you look at the interior. Before we get inside, however, let me show you guys the key fob. You can see this is the standard Porsche Intelligent Access key. It looks like the silhouette of a Porsche vehicle, which I love. It has a really high quality feel to it. You have your usual buttons for unlock, lock, but you also can open up the front hood and the rear hatch area from the actual button. There's also a panic feature over here. If you guys want their Porsche Entry and Drive, which is essentially the keyless function, all the keys will look like this, but if you guys want to be able to touch the door handle without pushing the buttons here and just having the key on you, that's an extra $800, which is, again, kind of insane. Porsche is one of the last few vehicles that charges still extra for intelligent access key. So as you can see with my test car having it, you just touch that little area there that will lock the door. My test car is also missing the optional power folding mirrors, which I also would add as well for an extra 190 bucks. Touch the back of the door handle, you can see that unlocks the door for you. Now, whoever actually spec'd out this Cayman literally has impeccable taste, because the Ruby Star Neo, an extra $2,600, is complemented beautifully by the full leather chalk and black interior, which, as you can see, this model also has the 18-way power sport seats. That light chalk gray with the black two-tone just looks exquisite with the Ruby Star Neo exterior color. I also love the way the 18-way seats look with the Porsche crest embossed in the actual headrest. As you can see, with the 18 ways, you get basically more aggressive adjustments and bolsters. You can see you also have the power seat mechanisms here. There's so many ways to adjust the seats. You also get a 2-person memory on the driver's side, and you also get a power tilt telescoping steering column, although my test car doesn't have that actually. Because I believe of a chip shortage. You do get the heated multifunction steering wheel included at no charge, however, with this trim. With that upgraded leather package for 2,500 bucks, you also get leather along the upper door panels here with the contrast stitching, some aluminum trim here. I also love the very mechanical and sturdy feeling aluminum door handles, more of that leather along this portion of the door panel. This portion over here also is leather covered. Open that up, you can see there's some decent storage pockets here and storage pockets here. Padded over here, the window controls, they just have that satisfying click. They're one touch up and down for, again, both the front and driver windows, front and passenger windows. You also have the lane change assist. This is your indicator for the blind spot monitoring. And overall, even though this interior looks a little bit dated, it definitely gives you a great first impression with that high quality feel. Now, this is a sports car, so you have to basically fall into the vehicle. It's a very low step in height. Once you get in, however, and shut the door has a nice solid sounding thunk. No soft close feature, obviously, but you can see this interior hasn't really changed at all since I last saw my Cayman GTS, which my Cayman had the black interior without the upgraded leather. I very much appreciate all the additional leather that you get in this car. To start the car up with the Porsche entry and drive, there's this little twist thing that doesn't actually come out of the dash. You have to just put your foot on the brake and then twist it to the right to start the vehicle up. And you can hear that flat 4-cylinder turbo fires right up, and it definitely has a unique character, a unique sound to it, which I really much appreciate as well. You can see if I switch the drive mode here into like sport, it opens up a baffle. And it just revs so quickly, it revs freely, it redlines all the way at 7,400 RPM, which is just absolutely fantastic. Now you can see the steering wheel, this is not the GT steering wheel, which is a smaller diameter with more like metal rivets. This is just the heated multifunction wheel. It includes metal paddles behind the steering wheel. You can also control your audio controls from over here. You can control that little screen off to the right side of the 3-dial layout, and then you can see with the manual tilt telescoping function, it offers a good amount of adjustability. I actually prefer the manual adjustments over the power adjustments. I just think that the power adjustments are unnecessary for a vehicle like this. Your cruise control is right here. My test car is missing adaptive cruise, which is an extra 1,800 bucks. You also do have some voice commands over there, your turn signal stalks and your windshield wiper stalks, and then your drive mode selector. This is included with the Sport Chrono package, so it includes basically a normal, a Sport Plus, an individual, and then there's the Sport response button, which basically gives you 20 seconds of overboost. And it also rolls in launch control, which is really, really nice to have. You can see the dash has beautiful leather stitching along this upper portion and this portion over here. I like the way the dash vents look. That's part of the Sport Chrono package with the stopwatch, of course. But as you can see here, if you guys like tech, you're not gonna like this car because this is the biggest screen that you can get. It's their Porsche Connect head unit. They're in the 4th generation, which is again, an older generation. It's only a 7-inch touchscreen, as you can see. And it also doesn't have navigation on my test car. It's an extra $2,800. I would probably skip it, to be honest, though, and just go for the, just use your phone, which this does include Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. It's connected via a wired connection, however, here from a USB-A dongle. So again, this screen is really, really tiny. Most of you are probably just gonna hook up your phone via Bluetooth and just listen to your music. There is a backup camera with parking sensors and trajectory. which is kind of nice. The camera quality and resolution certainly is not as good as what you find from some of the newer Porsches. I do also appreciate all the hard buttons and knobs. You can see volume knob, tuning knob, lots of shortcut buttons over here if you need to access some things. And you can see heated and cooled seats are also nice. The ventilated seat is optional, either $740 a la carte, which my test car has, or it's part of a premium package for an extra $2,500. You can see you do have dual zone climate control. That at least is standard equipment, which is nice. You have more buttons over here for your door lock controls, your rear spoiler where you can make it go up and down, your sport exhaust, you can open and close the baffle there. You can turn off the auto start stop, which I would turn off every time. It's super annoying. Your stability control, and then your dampers, which my test car has the optional sport PASM suspension, which includes adaptive dampers. Open that up, you can see there's an ashtray because it has the smoker's package, again, kind of showing the age of the car. But I just appreciate how upscale this interior feels. It has really satisfying button clicks whenever you're using the actual hard buttons. I also appreciate the fact that the tech isn't overwhelming. The interior has a very high quality premium feel to it. And there's not a single squeak and rattle in this interior. I also noticed this interior actually smells like an old Volkswagen. It smells like melted crayons, which is, again, a very nostalgic thing for me. You can see you can change this trim to either a wood or a different brushed metal look or carbon fiber. Push that, you can see this is where you find the cup holders for the vehicle, which the cup holders are super over-engineered. And they're also pretty pathetic and useless when you actually do use them because, again, you can't really put deep cups in here. You can increase the size of that, but your drinks are going to be spilling constantly if you guys are putting actual drinks in here. So my recommendation, don't bring drinks. This car is all about driving. The seats, like I mentioned earlier, they absolutely look fantastic. I love the way that they look and feel with the 18 ways of power adjustments. You also have heated and ventilated seats, which work really nice. The cooled seat works really great as well. Open that up, you can see that's a really small, shallow center console storage area. So there's not much storage in this vehicle, which you pretty much expect. You can see the glove box is a decent size. It's a bin style. It's damped. I'm sorry, yes, it is damped, but not, and it is lined with felt. So you'll be storing a lot of things in there away from praying eyes, along with the door pockets. You can see there is an auto-dimming rearview mirror, along with LED lighting here for the map lighting. There's also a light design package, which includes LED lighting here, and it also includes LED lighting in the actual mirrors here for the sun visors and LED lighting in the footwells. My test car has the standard 6-speaker sound system, which doesn't sound all that great. I recommend spending at least $900 for the Bose audio. There's also the Burmester audio for an extra $4,700 if you guys are an audiophile. But overall, this interior definitely feels very much driver focused, but it has a high quality feel, a dated feel, but you can see out of the front, the side, the rear pretty nicely. You can also option in a Racetex Alcantara headliner if you guys want as well, as opposed to the woven material. But overall, this interior still makes a great first impression. And again, if you guys hate technology and big screens, you're gonna wanna put this car at the top of your list because of the fact that it just feels very simplistic. So it's been a few years since I've been behind the wheel of a Porsche 718 Cayman. Remember, this car will always have a special place in my heart because I actually owned one of these. I leased it back in 2018 for 3 years. And to be honest, I actually do miss this car. And you know, what's interesting as well is the fact that you can still buy a 2024 model and it's practically identical to a 2020 or 2017 version when this all-new 718 generation came out back then. It's kind of crazy how Porsche has kept this car around for so long with very little changes. And if you guys have spent some time in the newer Porsches, this is definitely going to feel pretty dated compared to like the new 911. But the model that we're driving here is the Style Edition, which is a new trim level for 2024. It essentially dresses up the base version, which means we have a 2-liter turbocharged flat 4 with direct injection, making 300 horsepower, 280 foot-pounds of torque. It's the base powertrain, and with the Sport Chrono package that my test car has with the PDK, Porsche says it should do 0 to 60 in about 4.5 seconds. So I've actually never 0 to 60 tested the base version. To get the max performance, you want to put it into Sport Plus. This activates the launch control when you brake torque it. This car does have a limited slip diff. Let's go ahead and see what we can get in our actual testing. Man, Porsche's launch control is brutal. Woohoo! Wow! 0 to 60 in 4 seconds flat. Literally 4 seconds dead. And it really shows you just how potent and effective Porsche's launch control is. This is an older design from Porsche. It's got their 7-speed PDK, but when you get the Sport Chrono package, it literally dumps the clutch at 6,000 RPM. And this is a rear-wheel drive car. It's not all-wheel drive. Porsche doesn't offer all-wheel drive on the Cayman. at any price, but it seriously puts its power down effectively. That is a crazy quick time for a base car. It pretty much gets really close to matching the time that I got in a base Corvette. That's really, really impressive that this car can do that just right out of the bag with the base powertrain. But let's try it here again one more time. I just want to see if I can get a consistent time. Oh. 4.26 there. Remember, that's with it more going slightly uphill. So yeah, this is a fast car, even in the base engine. So don't dismiss the base Cayman or Boxster just because it doesn't have, you know, the 2.5 liter engine in the S or the 4 liter flat 6 in the GTS. Now, don't get me wrong, those powertrains, I've had a chance to sample all of them. Remember, I had a GTS which had the 2.5 with 365 horsepower. Pity I never had a chance to 0 to 60 test that model, but man, that is one seriously crazy quick time for just a base car, and it really punches above what the numbers would suggest. But the other thing that I want to talk about with this powertrain is the sound. Now, when Porsche switched to a flat 4, it was very controversial for a lot of enthusiasts because of the fact that people were comparing it to a Subaru. Now, I'd say that a lot of the criticism that people were saying was a bit overblown. I mean, yes, it doesn't have the flat 6 wail that you come to expect from Porsches, but the sound is definitely not Subaru. Subarus wish they could rev up to the 7,400 RPM that this engine will do. And this powertrain, this engine just has torque everywhere. It's a torque monster with 280 foot-pounds of torque, and it's just everywhere throughout the rev range. It's got a snappy and quick 7-speed dual-clutch transmission, which you can still get this with a manual transmission. It's a no-cost option. The manual is definitely worth a look if you guys are looking for pure driver enjoyment. Obviously, you're going to get the quicker times with the PDK. Put my foot down here, you can see. Oh. Oh, I actually do like the sound of this engine when you're really pushing it through the revs and revving the crap out of this thing to over 7,000. It's just different. It's not bad. It's just different. And once you kind of get used to, you know, the fact that you're not driving around in flat 6, there's something so satisfying about this powertrain. I have to say, I just want to launch it again one more time because I love the sound of this thing. Woohoo! Oh, God. Oh, God, this thing is just absolutely brutal. And I'm just shocked. I am genuinely surprised at how quick the base model is. So don't dismiss it. Again, I can't stress that enough, because the other thing you get with the base engine is just a lot more simplicity and a lot more affordability. I mean, obviously affordability is a relative term when we're talking Porsche here, but I'll just drive the car normally here. I'll put it into its sport setting. You can see in this mode, the Cayman is, you know, a premium product, and it definitely has a surprisingly decent ride quality. So I'll actually switch the drive mode here into just normal. I don't like driving this car normal because, as you guys heard, the exhaust quiets, the baffle closes up. My test car has the sport exhaust system with that active exhaust. It gets noticeably quieter here. The steering gets lighter. The suspension also gets softer. We have the adaptive suspension as well. And this thing actually is a comfortable highway car. The only thing you have to deal with is a lot of noise. There's an excessive amount of road noise, and you do still hear some engine drone, but mostly what you hear is road noise in this vehicle. So that's where some of the competitors are a little bit more refined in that sense, but it's not like unbearable. If you guys are used to driving like a sports car, like for example the new Z or a Supra, I mean the Z and the Supra would compete directly with this, along with a baser version of a Corvette Stingray. The Porsche definitely feels old, but what I love about this car is it feels so nimble. It's only 3,100 pounds. The steering is so quick, sharp, and direct. It just changes the direction so quickly. Little to no body lean. The car just feels like a driver's car, and that's what I love about the Cayman. It's a mid-engine car with a near 50-50, or it's basically 50-50 weight distribution. It also has just that light tossable feel. If you're coming from like a Miata, for example, and you've got the money, you've got like a big promotion at work, for example, you can afford something like this is gonna, you know, be the logical next step. And obviously, you know, when you're starting at the base end of this car, you're gonna be spending at least almost $70,000. This one here is 10 grand more, but it's just an absolute joy. So I am looking forward to the next generation Cayman. Porsche is saying they're going to go fully electric with this model, but I'm a little skeptical of that. because I just love the mechanical, visceral feel that you get with this car. The other great thing about the base engine, it's a 2-liter 4-cylinder flat 4. It gets pretty good gas mileage as well. In my week's worth of testing, this car is only rated at 21, 27. I got about 23 mpg in mixed driving. That's a mixture of city and highway. On the highway, however, this thing did 31 mpg easily, which is fantastic. On a full tank, I was actually doing around 380 miles of range, and that's on premium gas. This has the standard 14-gallon fuel tank. Porsche does offer a 17-gallon for an extra 150 bucks. It's an extended range fuel tank. That'll push the range to probably over 450 miles. But again, if you're planning to use this as a highway car, the 18-way seats are also pretty comfortable, although if you're of wider frame, you do notice that the bolsters hold you a little, or hug you a little bit too much. But I do love the plush leather. These are the optional black and chalk full leather interior, which definitely looks a lot more premium. It looks fantastic with this Ruby Star Neo exterior color. I love this color. I never thought I'd say I'd love a pink-ish color, but it's very much a gorgeous magenta. This car got attention everywhere it went because people actually thought it was a GT4 or it was like a higher performance model. So I love the way that Porsche has styled the style edition of the Cayman. It's just absolutely phenomenal. So even though the Cayman is definitely getting up there in the the years, there is still something uniquely satisfying about this car. If you want something that's more visceral, more mechanical, you don't care for all the flashy tech that you get in some of these other vehicles, and you, of course, you want a manual transmission, this is still one of the few ones out there. And Porsche offers so many different flavors, but you know what? After spending a week with the base engine, don't dismiss it. Again, it is a surprisingly solid choice out there, and it's going to give you enough performance to satisfy about 90% of the enthusiasts out on the market. So after spending a full week with the 2024 Porsche 718 Cayman Style Edition, I have to say, even though it's been a few years since I've spent some time with this vehicle, there is still something uniquely enticing about the Cayman and Boxster. Because remember, these cars are literally the oldest vehicles in Porsche's lineup. You guys saw that in terms of the interior and the technology interface, but there's something about this car. It has that special sauce that Porsche is known for. As you guys saw, even though this is the base engine with launch control engaged and the Sport Chrono package with the PDK, this thing will blast to 60 in 4 seconds flat, which pretty much matches the time that you're going to get for a 6-cylinder powered GR Supra or a Nissan Z. Of course, with its turbocharged inline or V6 engine. The automatic transmission is still one of the best in the business. Porsche just does amazing PDKs. The sound of this 4-cylinder, again, it's different. It's not necessarily bad. If you guys never spent any time with the 6-cylinder Porsches of yesteryear, you're going to get into this and you're going to love the character that this flat 4 gives you. It just gives you torque everywhere. It revs all the way up to 7,500 RPM. Again, try doing that in a Subaru engine before you start making those it's a Subaru Boxster engine comparisons. And this car's chassis is still rock solid. It's amazingly balanced. It's really lightweight. It's got excellent steering. The suspension corners so flatly. It just puts a huge smile on your face. This is easily still one of the best driver's cars that money can buy, and you can still get it with a 6-speed manual transmission. Really, you can't go wrong between the manual or the PDK. My money personally would go with the PDK. As I've gotten older, I just prefer to drive a really good dual clutch transmission over a manual. But again, if you guys are a purist, easily choose the manual because it's one of the few vehicles that can do so. The seats with the 18-way power adjustments are still relatively comfortable. There's good space in here, especially if you guys are coming from a vehicle like a Supra or an 86 or a Subaru BRZ. The 2 trunk spaces, again, are plentiful considering the size of this vehicle. And really what gives me pause with the Cayman and Boxster has been the price tag, because even though this car is supposed to be their most affordable sports car, Porsche has been increasing the price significantly over the years. I remember when this car first came out back in 2018 or 17, it had a base price of under $60,000, but sadly Porsche has literally been increasing the price significantly over the years. They gave it a huge price increase this year by about $5,000 to $15,000 depending on the trim. Now, if you guys want to get into a base Cayman, we're talking about the base model here, you're going to have to pay at least $72,800. Just under 73 grand plus destination, you're looking at close to 75 grand with destination. Add $2,100 if you guys want the topless Boxster version of this car, which technically the Boxster is actually the lighter version between the two, because this car starts out life as a Boxster and then they add the roof to make the Cayman. If you guys want the Style Edition, I highly recommend choosing the Style Edition because for an extra $6,400, it basically adds a lot of features to it that if you added it a la carte would easily cost you an extra $10,000, so keep that in mind. The Style Edition is going to start at just under 80 grand at 79.2. Again, add 2 grand if you guys want the Boxster. Now, my particular test car here has a pretty good amount of options on it, obviously, from the exterior color, which is an extra charge, the upgraded leather interior, which is also like an extra charge, the 18-way power seats, which is also like a $4,000 charge. All in with destination, of course, my particular test car here comes into around $96,000. I know 96 grand for a base Cayman engine is insane, because remember, if you guys are comparing it to a GR Supra that starts at around 56 grand, a Nissan Z with the with the performance package starts at around $52,000. A BMW Z4 with the 6-cylinder starts at around $65,000. And then, of course, there's the Chevrolet Corvette, which starts at around $68,000. So there's a lot to be, charged here with a Porsche. You're paying for the Porsche badge as well, but you're also paying for one of the most well-balanced vehicles and one of the most nostalgic vehicles out there. So my recommendation, if you guys are on the market for one of the best driver's cars out there with an internal combustion engine and a manual, put one of these at the top of your list, because again, Porsche is going to be discontinuing this car for 2025. They're going all electric, and that just makes me sad, because there's still something so mechanically wonderful and visceral about this car, and you don't necessarily need to go all the way up to the really expensive models like the GTS or the GT4 RS, which easily have a price tag of well over $100,000 to $170,000, especially for that RS trim. With all that said, I hope you guys have enjoyed my full overview on this 2024 Porsche Cayman Style Edition. If you're also looking to see the latest cars I'm testing, be sure to follow me on Instagram at Redline_reviews, like us on Facebook, and as always, guys, please keep subscribing to the Redline Reviews YouTube channel for all the latest reviews. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you all in the next video.